Hello and welcome to my Mindful Eating for Fat Loss workshop. I'm Coach Heather, and today I'm going to be talking to you about eating on autopilot, why paying attention to how you eat matters most before you do anything else. If you feel like you are someone who you've been constantly yo-yo dieting, gaining and losing weight, or you've never been successful to begin with, or you've calorie tracked and you do it for a while, you would get some progress, but then as soon as you stop calorie tracking, you gained it all back. If any of that sounds familiar, then this workshop is for you. You'll get a lot of value out of this. We're going to take it back a few steps and make it even simpler and help you to live your life more, live your food, enjoy your food more freely, and have a little less guilt on the weekends or on holidays whenever you do have the opportunity to indulge, and how you can take control of those moments, get results or sustain results that you've already gotten while also living your life and not dieting forever. So if that sounds good for you and good with me, let's get started. For those of you who don't know, I'm Coach Heather from Leads Way Fitness. I'm a fitness coach. I teach primarily powerlifting, and I am a women's coaching specialist. I went to school at University of Texas at Dallas, and you can connect with me at coach.swear.com. Best place to connect to me at is going to be my Instagram at heather.swear. And you are welcome to check out that link and subscribe to my newsletter for free Friday advice, where I just write quick articles or a little bit more detailed articles that solve people's problems and go into more mindset and those mental obstacles that we tend to commonly come across. So check out coachswear.com or connect with me on Instagram. So I'm making this workshop because I have been there. I get how hard it is to make a transformation, to change your life, and to change your body. And let me tell you, if just wanting to lose weight and change our body was actually a motivating enough factor for us to do it, we would all have six-pack abs. So I had to get a much deeper reason why to lose weight to actually do it, because every time I had tried in the past, I did yo-yo dieting, I did fad diets, I tried starving myself, I was anorexic for a period of time, and I did low carb, tracking my calories. I did everything and I failed at all of them. And it's because I didn't work on the foundation that involves awareness and mindfulness to start with when it comes to our eating. So at 25, I weighed over 230 pounds, and I had this moment where I just thought to myself, what do I want my life to look like in 5 years? Because time isn't going to stop moving. Do I want to be over 300 pounds, be diabetic, have the foods that I want to eat potentially kill me because I'm diabetic, be dealing with a host of other lifestyle diseases that I could have been preventing by changing my life now? Do I want to not be able to go on roller coasters because there's a weight limit for safety reasons? Did I not want to be able to go on hikes and explore the world because I have really low endurance or poor mobility? Did I not want to be confident in my own skin so I can just live my life to the fullest and unapologetically? No, I wanted more out of my life, and I realized I wasn't doing anything with it. So with that in mind, I needed to change, and I had to learn everything from the ground up because I came from a low income family. Didn't have access to sports because we didn't have the money for it. Didn't have a lot of access to good food because not a lot of people in my family ate very healthy. And I remember we did a lot of church food drives to get a lot of our food when I was young. So the only vegetable we had in our house was spinach, and it always went bad, and I wasn't going to be the one to eat it. So I had to figure out how to make these changes in a way that worked for me, because working out didn't work for me. I used to strongly dislike working out because my dad would just put me through the ringer and I'd be so sore I couldn't move. So I had to build a better relationship with food and build a better relationship with working out. Now, I will disclaimer here, I did not go from this to this. This picture was last year. This picture was 7 years ago in 2015. So I had actually lost 65 pounds in 7 months because I went from eating 2,500 to 3,000 calories to actually just eating healthier foods, limiting how much I ate just by choosing healthier foods. So I let myself eat as much as I needed to, much as I wanted to, but I chose healthier foods and found alternatives to hit cravings, like sugar cravings, because that was my big Achilles. It's always sugar, still is, still love it, have better options now. And I'll share some of those as well. But we can change by starting with how we eat. So I went from this to 65 pounds down. I was still skinny fat. I wish I still had that picture, but I don't know where it is. This is more detailed eating. So there's a big difference between these two pictures. This picture, I was very emotionally attached to food. I used it for comfort. I used it to numb myself. I used it for social engagement. And so I was just in a place where worrying about the details, worrying about macros and calories just wasn't working for me. It just didn't work. So I had to come at it at a very different angle with mindful eating. This is more detailed work. This is being able to look at food as emotionally neutral. So I can look at calories, and I can look at macronutrients, and I can look at how to strategically plan my workouts. That way I can build my back and build my glutes. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But how you're going to use this workshop, what I really recommend is just using the analogy of the Japanese art form called kintsugi. Kintsugi is the art of mending ceramics with gold. So you're mending broken things with a beautiful, precious mineral. And what this does, it just really bringing and showing the beauty in imperfection and accepting our imperfections, because some of you guys might watch this video and think, none of this applies to me. This is silly. All I need to do is calorie track and track my macros. But we're all human. We all can fall prey to bad habits. None of us want to feel like we're a burden on anyone, and we feel like we can solve our own problems. But what this art form is just here to show you is that it's okay to have imperfections. We are actually stronger when we embrace those imperfections and we shine a light on them and we share them with other people. We allow ourselves to be vulnerable. That way we can grow through it. So just keep this in mind. It's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to need help. It's okay to rely on the people around you. So don't feel like you have to keep it all in. You have a wonderful support system around you through Lead the Way Fitness. Please, please, please don't suffer in silence. Use your support system, because I have used my support system to help me grow in unimaginable ways. I mean, I feel like this is a pretty good indicator of that. I didn't do this by pretending to be perfect. I did this by asking for help and asking for support and getting guidance through a coach. So just keep that in mind as we go through this workshop. So what you're going to learn today is the hierarchy of nutrition and why you're skipping the most important part, how to apply mindful eating and appetite awareness to live your life more flexibly while getting results or sustaining results you already got. And then I do have some Q&As from the live workshop that I did put in this. I didn't include the ones from Facebook because they weren't 100% relevant to this workshop. That's for another time. But the questions that I got were really good about this topic. So I do have it at the end of the workshop. So the number one question I get when anyone comes into my gym and sits down with me for an appointment is, what should you focus on for the most successful results? Macros, micros, calories, intermittent fasting, supplements. All questions I get, all valid, all do play a role at some point. But what I want to caveat before you look into all these details is that if you haven't built that capacity to treat eating as an emotionally neutral science project, don't obsess over the details. Start with how you're eating first before you adjust what you're eating. And just as a reminder, I was not in a place to look at food as an emotionally neutral science project. This was a place where I was able to do that. So I started here, got great results from just paying more attention. And then over time, as I developed that skill, I was able to stack on more skills on top of that, build off of it, and then get more results. So we're going to talk about how the skills stack right now with the hierarchy of nutrition, what it actually looks like, and how we can start with one skill and build our way up. So number one, this is the hierarchy of nutrition. I got this from my women's coaching certification through Girls Gone Strong. Consistency is the number one factor you absolutely need to consider here, because no matter what you do, if you're not consistent, you're not going to get results. So you can't do it for 1 week and be like, why isn't it working? You can't do it for 2 weeks and be like, why isn't it working? You have to be consistent over a period of time. And if you're not feeling like you're consistent, how can you change things? How can you dial it back so you are consistent until you are consistent with the smallest, most bite-sized version of what you're trying to do? And then as you build up that consistency and that confidence and that identity and that habit, then you can build upon it and get more advanced over time without making it look effortless, without it being a big inconvenience. So number one, as you can see here, is mindful eating and appetite awareness. Most people just tend to skip this completely. I have people come into my office, and the first thing they ask me is, how much should I be eating? And what are my macros? So we need to stop skipping this step to jump to 2 to 3 and focus first here. So we're going to talk and break down all of these habits that play into this factor, so you can evaluate if you're already doing it, if you're doing a great job of that already, or if we need to bring more awareness here first and work on improving how we're eating, our eating habits that we already have every single day, and adjust from there until we can build off of it. So this is what I tend to see. Most people have their pyramids as they're upside down. A pyramid is most unstable when it's on its tip. So people ask me, what fat loss burner should I take? Should I be taking creatine? Should I be taking omega-3s? Which, if you're not eating fish, yes, you probably should be supplementing with an omega-3 supplement. So talk to your doctor about that if that's something you might need because you're deficient because you don't eat fish. Should I be doing intermittent fasting to cut back on calories? It does help, but we're still missing a huge component here. Macronutrients, and then people just completely forget about mindfulness and appetite awareness. So as soon as they stop doing their plan, they fall right back into their habits that led them to overeat without really realizing it, that will bring them back to where they were before. So we're going to make sure we are flipping our pyramid right side up again, getting that solid foundation. That way you can build upon it and be successful forever. All right, so let's start talking about mindful eating and appetite awareness. First, before we go deeper into this, do any of these scenes look familiar to you? You're sitting at your laptop doing work, or you're scrolling on your phone and you had to get food, so you ordered in or you stopped by the nearest fast food place. The next thing you know, you're eating, you're kind of just working passively, and you realize you've already finished your meal. You might even still be a little bit hungry because you weren't paying fully attention, and you're a little bit sad because maybe you were looking forward to this meal. It seemed like a really good idea. It sounded really tasty. It just sounded like it would really hit the spot, but because you weren't paying attention to it, you just weren't really present the whole time and you didn't really enjoy it. Maybe you're chilling at home. You just get some easy fast food delivered in, and you were just overindulging while you binge watch your shows. I relate way too much with this. I feel like I'm just looking at this GIF and it's me once upon a time. And then this is also something I'm guilty of. When you have one fork full and ready while you're shoving another mouthful in your mouth, like your mouth is still full, you're just prepping that next fork before you've even finished chewing your food. So that's another good example of mindless eating here too. So that mindless eating is when you're eating zoned out in front of a TV, you're scrolling on your phone while you do work or other tasks, you're shoveling food into your mouth, like having a fork full and ready while your mouth is still full. You're snacking or binging out of boredom for emotional or stress reasons as well. Or you're eating because it's offered to you even when you're not hungry and it's just there and convenient, or you just visibly see it and you're like, yeah, you know what, I'll just grab a bite. I don't need it, but let's just do it anyway. So the point of this workshop is to help you to move away from external rules such as low carb diets, keto diets, low fat diets, calorie restriction, intermittent fasting. You can't eat within this time zone, or you can't eat within this time period. You can't eat carbs. You can't eat this many calories without going over. Like, all those are all external rules. They're self-imposed pressures. They can just be absolutely overwhelming. And most people just tend to break if they haven't built this foundation of awareness and personal responsibility first. So the ability to be aware of ourselves and our physiological needs and our eating behaviors is an essential skill. A physiological need is something your body needs to function better, to feel better, to do its job, to keep you alive. And being more aware of that, like, it is something that you can learn and be more in tune with. So we're going to be talking about how you can do that here. So I want you to move away from those rules about what to eat or how much to those internal principles and self-regulation that can help you to learn to trust yourself and your body, rather than go for a one-size-fits-all or a strict meal plan. I don't like meal plans because meal plans are very rigid. You're either on your meal plan or off your meal plan. And when you get off that meal plan, you tend to just do make decisions you don't necessarily want to. So what we need to do here is actually build the skill of one, mindful awareness and personal responsibility. Just paying attention to your appetite. Are you hungry? Are you not hungry? How are you eating? How are you even just eating your meal in itself? Then building off of that, you can start going into meal prep and preparing better, because you realize, eating a Snickers bar because it's there, even if you're mindful eating, maybe it doesn't make you feel good. So you swap it out for a healthier alternative and a better snack. So we're going to be talking about that. So I want people to skill build so that when they eventually leave my coaching, they can actually be able to sustain a lifestyle that helps them to sustain the results. That way they aren't dependent on me forever, and they're actually building these skills, because you just can't live on a meal plan forever. Life doesn't work like that. So mindful eating, when you break it down, is slowing down your eating and pausing between bites to finish a mouthful. It's slowing down to enjoy your food by paying more attention to the taste, texture, smell, and looks. It's observing how that food makes you feel during, immediately after, and 1 to 2 hours later. Most of us eat zoned out, so we don't pay attention to how our food actually makes us feel and perform. Paying attention and investigating your hunger cues. Are you actually hungry? Are you just bored, emotional, environmental cues, etc.? And learning to actually stop when you're satisfied. You have no obligation to finish your plate if you have gotten to the point where you are satisfied and not stuffed. So mindful eating can be done with any meal, not just the healthy ones. So this is super important, and I have to talk about this because I have some clients where when I started to talk to them about this, they would come back to me and say, oh, I failed at mindful eating because I still ate bad, or, I was being mindful about what I was eating, and I had to tell them to pause for a second because that wasn't the intent of this lesson. Mindful eating, yes, of course, you do want to try to be mindful and eat whole foods and make better food decisions, but mindful eating can be done with any meal. Even if you have, a pint of Ben and Jerry's in front of you, you can slow down your eating, enjoy every bite, allow your body to actually go through the physiological responses it needs to realize that it's had enough, and not eat the whole pint because you slowed down, you enjoyed every bite, you allowed yourself to have that treat that you wanted, that maybe if you were really a little bit more advanced, you planned your day around having. That way you don't feel restricted. You gave yourself what you wanted, but you're not necessarily just going to binge out on the thing. This could be applied to weekends when you go out for dinners with your family, when you just want to have fun and let loose. You can mindful eat then. You can mindful eat at holidays when you have feasts prepared. You can slow down and savor those meals more and not let yourself get to the point where you've eaten so much that your stomach has distended and it's pressing against your lungs and you feel really uncomfortable. You need to take a nap. That's when you know you've gone too far. So you can bring mindful eating into all areas at every single day of your life. This next meal you come to, your next meal, you can start mindful eating. You can start this change today. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as you are just following these principles. You don't have to be advanced to do it. Everyone should be doing it. I think even coaches can forget about this, because once I was learning about this topic in more detail, I realized that I was eating while I was working, and I was zoned out while I was eating a treat that I was supposed to enjoy. And I was like, man, I'm not enjoying the food I love. That sucks. So let's start enjoying our food more, no matter what it is. I'm okay. I got too excited. So excited to help you guys with this topic. But we're all right now. Okay. All right. So mindfulness is the ability to pay attention, be self-aware, be thoughtful of your choices, and be present in the moment. Not necessarily talking about meditation, but just being present with your meal or the people around you. Most of us tend to zone out when we eat, and we don't notice how our food makes us feel, or our eating habits make us feel or perform. So you want to start paying attention to that if you haven't been. Appetite awareness is the ability to recognize physical hunger or fullness. So you're able to distinguish between I want to eat from I need to eat, because a lot of us get that confused, and to be able to eat the right amount for our physiological needs. So we can break down mindful eating specifically into 3 habits. I have a few clients where all 3 of these, because from where they were at, this was tough, because they were emotionally attached to food. Food was comfort. It was a way to distract themselves and numb themselves from uncomfortable feelings. And so we had to break it down. So we weren't calorie tracking, we weren't macro trialing. We were breaking it down from these three things. I had them start with eating slowly. They couldn't eat slowly at every single meal. That was still too much. So I had them start with one meal. What is the one meal that you can start to slow down your eating and pay more attention to? So eating slowly, investigating your hunger, and eating until satisfied. When you learn these habits, it can be very freeing and allow you to live your life way more flexibly. So slowing down your eating, I like to say slow down and savor, because that's just a good way to remember it. Like, you're not just slowing down your eating, you're also taking the time to enjoy your food more, because that's what we should be doing. We eat food every day. Let's enjoy it more. Investigate your hunger and eat until satisfied. So let's break these down. We are over halfway through this presentation now. So let's finish this up and empower you guys to take the tips you need to apply it to your life. So slow down and savor. We all love food. I don't know a single person that doesn't love food. Even those of you who you struggle to eat more, you still love food. So let's start taking the time to enjoy it more, no matter what you're doing. If you do this, if you take the time to actually enjoy your food and pay attention to it, whether you're in a calorie deficit, you're trying to gain weight, etc., enjoy your food more. Let's enjoy our food more. Let's stop making it something just to get by in our day. Let's start just making that effort to just pay attention to our food. So by focusing on the meal we're currently eating, it will help us to enjoy and savor our food, which while allowing us to recognize and attend to our body's signals and needs. You'll be better able to notice when you're satisfied and recognize when it's time to stop eating. So we'll jump straight into putting into the practice, because it's a pretty self-explanatory topic. Good thing you could do if you're, you eat fast, is time your meals initially. See how long they currently take you. I think my record was like 6 minutes with a meal, and ideally you want to try to pace out your meal between 15 to 20 minutes if you can. Remember, I'm looking for at least one meal a day. If that sounds overwhelming, to start with one meal. Dinner time tends to be the best one, since it's at the end of the day. So time your meals and set small goals to slow them down. So once you know your initial baseline, then you can just start to slow down those meals a little bit. Try to get it a little bit further apart, just where you're actively engaging with your meal and making it more of an activity instead of just something you do. Pause to take a breath between bites. So you check in to notice how the food smells, tastes, and looks each time you take a bite, or as much as you can. Sometimes I have to remind myself to bring it back and pay more attention, because I will zone out sporadically because I have ADHD. You want to take smaller bites of food. So a trick that I do, I wish I had it in here, I will use little dessert utensils, especially with dessert, because I really want to enjoy every bite of dessert, because I told you guys I was a binge eater. I love sweets. So smaller utensils will help you to slow it down, taking smaller bites. Then you can chew each bite until it's broken down and easier to digest. Take sips of water between bites. That way you're also hydrating at the same time. So that's going to help you with your hydration goals. And engage in conversation with dinner companions. I always recommend talk about your meal a little bit more with your dinner companions. Not just, oh yeah, it tastes good, or I love this, but why do you love it? What's so good about it? What's your favorite part of the meal? Bring more mindfulness into the whole dinner, and then everyone will enjoy that experience a little bit more. So remember, if you find it tough to do, start with one meal. I don't care if it's one snack, whatever you're eating, just pay more attention to it. I promise you, if you're at work and you take the time to eat a snack, nobody's going to come after you for spending a few minutes paying attention to your snack. And if they do, please message me so I can just support you and find a workaround for that. But no one's going to come after you for actually paying attention to your food and taking a few minutes for yourself to eat. I promise. And if that is the case, please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. All right, so we're going to move on to investigating hunger now. Most of us eat when we're not physiologically hungry, and we don't stop when we're full either. When we are able to distinguish between physiological hunger, I need to eat, and psychological or situational appetite, I want to eat or I should eat, we're more able to consume the right amount of food for our body's needs, regardless of our goals. So hunger is a need. It occurs when your body actually requires food and it produces physical sensations. It goes through a physiological response to let us know about it. So that's that mild or moderate discomfort that feels like that hollow or uncomfortable feeling in the stomach, extreme hunger, or just more more than just mild is when, growling stomach, mild headache, low energy, fatigue, shakiness, and brain fog as that blood sugar drops. You don't want to get to that point. When you get to that point where you're starving, you do tend to be a little more ravenous when you're eating food. You will end up eating more calories than if you were to eat when you were just mildly hungry and didn't let it get to that point. And you will make less than desirable decisions, worse decisions than if you had been maintaining your blood sugar by eating just when you're mildly hungry and not starving. Appetite is a want. So it's triggered by external cues such as sight, smell, advertising, the availability of appealing or highly palatable food, or thoughts and feelings like wanting distraction or numbing from emotions, alleviating uncomfortable emotional states like boredom, anxiety, sadness, etc. So guilty of all of that in my past. And wanting to keep pleasant emotional states going, also guilty. Or when you're tired, like when you're crossing time zones or work shifts, or situational obligations to eat, such as events, certain times of days, regardless of if we're hungry. So those of you with flexible schedules, maybe you can push back your lunch a little bit longer, just if you're not hungry, if you decide you're not hungry. But for those of you who you do have set lunch times, obviously this doesn't apply to you necessarily. So there's just that situational situations. All right, fun little tip we're going to talk about now. For women specifically, this is a little hack that you can do to know when you should be really paying attention to your mindfulness. Women may notice both hunger and appetite changes with hormonal changes, such as during their menstrual cycle, during menopause, and pregnancy postpartum. So this tip is going to be specifically for women who are still experiencing their menstrual cycle. So appetite and calorie intake, all women know this, is higher when you're about to menstruate through menstruation. So the luteal phase, basically, I'm just saying we get hungrier and we want more chocolate. We get higher food cravings whenever we're close to our period and then we're on our period. So what we have here on the side here, if you notice the luteal phase, that's that peak here. That's that yellow line. So we will tend to eat more during this time. And there's actually a reason for that. It's not because you have low willpower, low discipline, or you are just ravenous for some reason, or all of those typical reasons that we say, like, why can't I just control myself? There's a reason why you're craving more food. And it's during this luteal phase, your estrogen will drop. And when your estrogen drops, that's what causes those cravings to be more prevalent. So when that's happening, your body temperature will actually spike suddenly. So here it's kind of normal. And then there's a sudden spike in correlation to that luteal phase raising. So if you were to take your temperature every single day and there was a sudden spike in your temperature, your body temperature, that means that your estrogen just drops, and you can be more mindful about paying attention to what you're eating so that you just don't overeat. You just have a little bit more awareness of what's going on with your body instead of thinking it's willpower. You're just hungry. You're ravenous. This isn't working, that kind of thing. So I recommend getting one of those little thermometers that it's like a laser. They used to use it during the pandemic to check your temperature before you went into places. They're a little bit expensive, so you can't just use a basic thermometer, of course, as well. But that's what I use. It's really handy, and it does work. It's crazy. So that's just a little hack for you women. Sorry, gentlemen, I don't have any hacks for you, but that's a tool for you to keep in your tool belt. So investigating hunger, we're going to put into practice now. So a great question to ask yourself is, am I hungry enough to actually eat a relatively plain meal like broccoli and chicken? I'm not saying you have to eat broccoli and chicken, but are you hungry enough that would make you happy because you're just hungry and you don't want to be hungry anymore? If so, it's hunger. Am I possibly mistaking thirst for hunger? So try drinking a glass of water. Am I actually tired, or do I simply need a break? So try pausing to breathe for 5 minutes with your eyes shut, lying down if you can manage it. Help you just give a quick mental reset. It can be really valuable here. Would taking a 15-minute time out help me determine whether it's food or something else that I need? Like try taking a walk, connecting socially, you're writing a journal. You're really just letting a craving pass, because it does take about 15 to 20 minutes for a craving to pass. So if you feel like you're in that place, but you're just determined to make sure you are paying attention to what you actually need, this is a great way to do that. What is happening around me? Are there any food cues busy schedule, emotional upheaval, and social events. Like you have food, like a candy bowl that's just around. Me, I always keep a bowl of fruit in the corner of my office. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm definitely hungry because that bowl of fruit looks amazing. Or do I need to eat, want to eat, or feel like I should eat? For instance, because it's lunchtime, read what I just talked about whether you have a set lunch or a more flexible schedule. This habit doesn't fit if you are someone who's looking to maintain, gain weight, or muscle mass, or you're highly active, or maybe you're reverse dieting, which is another workshop for another day. You may need to eat when you're less hungry than you might prefer for that particular goal. So if you're trying to lose weight, or even just trying to maintain your weight or maintain your results, investigate your hunger. That's our goal here. So now we're talking about eating when satisfied, because the difference between full and satisfied can be a bit tricky. Being satiated is a physiological state. So our body, as we're eating and slowing down while we're eating, it will actually use feedback from our stretch receptors in our intestinal tract, along with our hormonal responses to nutrients like release of insulin and the rise of blood sugar from having things sugary, sweet, or carbs. The body will detect when it's had enough to eat and signal this to your brain. So your body will tell your brain when to stop if you allow it the time to go through that process. That's also where slowing down comes into play. Being full is that feeling when you've overeaten at a holiday meal, your stomach is distended from having too much food in it, and it's pressing against your lungs. It's a nasty feeling. You always feel like you need to take a nap afterwards, and you really want to try to avoid this. So many people overeat because they are looking for mental or emotional satisfaction of being full as well. I used to be that way. My workaround at the time is I would eat my meal, and then if I was still feeling like I needed to be full, I actually ate broccoli because I knew I wasn't going to overeat broccoli. Like you can't eat 7 pounds of broccoli. You know what I mean? Like there would be a point when I would have to stop because I was full. And then over time, I managed to work away from that. It's been a long process. But remember that full feeling you're looking for is not a literal one, and this rarely works. So you want to try to, if you're in this place, slowly find little baby steps to get away from it by finding little workarounds like I did. So eating till satisfied is a simple formula to make it actually work. So you can literally just kind of think about this to hack your body to actually go through this process. So by slowing down and paying attention, eating slower, enjoying every bite, allowing your body to actually realize what's going on, it's going to make the physiological process of satiety work much more efficiently. So putting it into practice, so we can apply these things to our lives. Practice noticing your hunger signals, hence the last habit. Try eating when mildly to moderately hungry. Don't wait till you're starving. Eliminate distractions during meals whenever possible. And remind yourself that you can always save leftover food for later and take it on the go. You are not obligated to finish your meals. If you are struggling with portion sizes, try a smaller plate. Amplify feedback from the GI tract. So this is actually a really cool thing. So as I told you, physiological response is happening. You can amplify that feedback tract by actually taking your hand and putting it on your stomach, and it will increase that feedback. Now, if you're not comfortable touching your stomach, what you can do is just take a pillow, hold it to your stomach there. I was doing this without realizing it back when I was first losing my weight, because I would always keep pillows to my stomach because I was really self-conscious about my stomach. I like to always hide it with pillows. So I would always have a pillow to like rest my hands on. So when I was really working on mindful eating, this actually helped me with that a lot. And then practice those stop and savor moments throughout the meal. We don't do this. This is a habit that you have to work on. So it's probably not going to happen right away. You might still have moments you realize you zoned out. So keep working on it. As long as you're just constantly like, oh man, I zoned out. Let's pay attention again to this awesome meal I'm eating, or this awesome treat that's going to just help me get by and just live my life. Just practice those savor moments more. So this is a much better system for fat loss, especially in the beginning, for those of you who you still have that emotional attachment to food. You want change? Great. I'm so happy for you. Let's not jump to the hard part right away. Let's slow down and savor our meals more. Pay attention to how we're eating. If we're eating too fast, if we're shoveling food in our mouth, if we're doing it while we're zoned out, find the things that you notice you are doing that is stopping you from slowing down and paying more attention to your food. Then investigate your hunger and appetite. Notice if you're eating when you're bored. Notice those times a day that you tend to eat more or snack more. Just pay more attention overall to your hunger and your appetite and those cues that you can use in this one. And then stop when you're satisfied. So you don't have to finish a plate. I want to challenge you to your next meal. See if you can not eat the whole thing and be satisfied. I didn't finish ice cream the other night and it blew my mind. I was like, whoa, I'm actually good. Like I stopped and I realized I don't need to finish this. And that blew my mind. That's such a win for me because I always finish ice cream. I always measure out my ice cream, but I usually finish it when I measure out, and I didn't this time. Then adjust how much you're eating after you've learned that baseline, and then you can start to adjust what you're eating and go into those more detailed facts. So again, let's just bring it right back here to that first slide I showed you. If you haven't built the capacity to treat eating as an emotionally neutral science project, please start with mindful eating. Start with how you're eating first before you adjust what you're eating. Don't obsess over the details. Take some self-imposed pressure off yourself. We always think that when we change something or we change our body or change something in our life, it has to be super hard. And I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be so hard. So Q&A, because we are now done with this. Oh, forgot this one. Just a few examples of how I've helped my clients to repair their relationship with food. Lots of people still working on binge eating habits, but we're getting better. We're repairing our relationship, getting better control of the situations. I'm just so proud of all of my clients and how they've been doing this. Mindful eating is a regular topic that I hear them talk about whenever they come in to talk to me or we're in class. And so it's been a very empowering process to go through. So take these guys as an example and then use them to empower yourself to make this a better process for you that's more enjoyable. All right, so for those Q&As, Sarah had asked me, what do you do if you can't get to food for a long period of time? Like, for example, you're at a meeting, you have a work period where you just know you can't eat, or an event, or you're in class or something like that. Make sure you plan ahead. Successful behavior is planned behavior. If you know you're going to be in a period of time where you can't eat, make sure you plan ahead. Eat a balanced meal of protein, vegetables, and carbohydrates that is big enough that will keep you satisfied longer for that period of time. A balanced meal of those 3 macronutrients, vegetables, a healthy carb, and a protein will help you keep your blood sugar much more stabilized so you don't deal with that hunger in the middle of nowhere. Then you can also just drink water to make sure you're just keeping your thirst under control. And drinking carbonated beverages actually has studies that show that it kills appetite. And from my experience, that is so true. I've always had some kind of 0-calorie carbonated beverage to replace my old soda and energy habit. And it is a real game changer. I still use this habit because when I'm coaching, I don't usually have a lot of time to eat for multiple hours. So I just sip on a liquid death. So I'm also staying hydrated because I struggle to drink water at the time, while also killing my appetite a little bit until I can make it to dinner at the end of the night. So don't be afraid of Diet Cokes. That artificial sweetener, it's worth the metaphorical risk if it helps you adhere to paying more attention to what you're eating and killing your appetite a little bit when you need it to. I have one a day. Not Diet Coke, just carbonated drinks. But I would if I like Diet Coke. All right, so does excess food when eaten mindlessly get stored as fat? Your body doesn't know you're eating it mindlessly. So really it just comes down to if you're eating in a calorie surplus, yes, it will be stored as fat. So let's say, for example, you had a holiday, you didn't eat all day in anticipation to have more at this meal, but because you didn't eat all day, by the time you get to this meal, you're starving. And when you're starving, like I said earlier, you aren't going to make as good of decisions. So when you are in that place, you have the potential to still overeat, even though you have the anticipation of that being your only meal. And because you overeat, because you're a little bit more in control, because you're in that starving state, then yes, if you do go into a calorie surplus and eat more than your body needs to maintain its weight, you will gain weight and it will get stored as fat. But on the flip side, if you ate balanced meals all day and then you got to that last meal, your portion sizes were appropriate, you slowed down, you savored, you investigated your hunger, you ate when you were just mildly hungry, and you stopped when you were satisfied, you would be totally fine. Some people can even lose weight during the holidays because of this reason, because they're working on this. So I always want to advise you, don't starve yourself in anticipation for a big meal, because you might still overeat, and just eat balanced meal throughout the day. You'll have more control on that meal to be able to mindful eat. So remember, if you haven't built that capacity to treat that food as an emotional neutral science project, don't obsess over those details. I do want to give you a quick suggestion for those of you who just need a little bit extra help with that nutrition. My favorite healthy fast food place, because I am always on the time crunch. I have a very, very busy job and a very active life. I use Lightbite. There's one location in Rancho Cucamonga, one in Glendora. If you use my code Coach Swear, you can actually get more of a discount and save up to 20% off. But it's essentially Chipotle style. You walk in, you just choose all of your foods. It's really simple. They pack it up for you. You can actually, it's on demand, so they're never going to be off except for holidays. They're always available on the weekends. You can just walk in and get what you need. You can order ahead online at lightbite.com and pick up the next day or have it delivered, which is fantastic. I use that like crazy. I always go and pick up my meals the next day. Or if you're in a crunch, order it in person. I'm getting to a point where I'm going to meal prep for my week, but I'm going to get Lightbite on my weekends. That way I still have healthy food, because if I meal prep on the weekends, I'm meal prepping for my week, and then I get to my weekends and I don't have anything healthy to eat. So I'm just going to use Lightbite on the weekends to make my meal prep easier for the week. So that is going to be a great change for me, and saving a little bit more money, but still using this tool in my toolbox. That way, if I realize, oh, man, it's a weekend, I want a healthy lunch, but I don't really want to cook. Oh, let's just run to Lightbite. It's a huge game changer. Recommend. The owner is fantastic. The workers are great. So highly recommend. If you go there, use Coach Swear as a discount. It'll save you some money. And then if you haven't already, sign up for my newsletter at coachswear.com. I send free Friday advice every single Friday. I get a lot of feedback. I have a high open rate. People get a lot of help out of it. And it's a regular conversation we have at the gym. So I hope this can be helpful in helping to empower you to make better food decisions, to be more mindful, to live your life more freely, not be yo-yo dieting all the time, not be calorie tracking and then failing when that falls off. So live more mindfully, enjoy your food, and let's get away from dieting forever, because I feel like most of the time people are always on a diet and always obsessing over the scale, always trying to lose weight. So let's do some mindful eating. Let's work on these habits. If you feel like there's anything you knew you need to work on in this workshop, please drop in the comments if there's something that you got really that you're going to start applying tomorrow, because I would love to hear and support you along the way. Peace out. Coach Heather out.